the Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots, their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Good evening and Merry Christmas, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. I'm apparently joined by the Grinch tonight. Not a single ounce of Christmas cheer on you. You even have a Badlands Christmas sweater. What are you doing?
I just was thinking that as you were clicking the live button. I was like, I wore my sweater on the Home Alone stream. I wore my my Roadhouse sweater, but I don't know where my Badlands Christmas sweater is.
I am deeply offended because I gave that to you. That was your Christmas gift, and you lost it.
Mrs. Sprite probably knows where it is. I know it exists. I know it's in the house somewhere. I just don't know off the top of my head where.
I don't know how to proceed.
I know. I'm a little devastated on everybody else's behalf because
you
of
don't
my
seem
behavior.
that devastated. I mean, you've known about this stream for like at least a week, and
true.
not an ounce of preparation or forethought went into
Yeah. I'm sorry.
to your attire. It's okay.
What I do have though, one of these like little gifts my mom gave me today that I thought was going to be gross. These are amazing. They're like high grade whiskeys, but chocolates. And the chocolate, yeah, I had one earlier. The whiskey is in a little chocolate bourbon.
So you drink the whiskey and then eat the chocolate?
It's made out of chocolate. Like the bottle itself is made out of chocolate. So you can bite the top off and then it's like a little bottle of chocolate whiskey, which I thought it wouldn't work, but it's amazing.
Okay, now I'm wondering why every bottle of whiskey isn't made of chocolate.
It's a viable question now. I was like, surely there's a reason they haven't done this before, but I think this is the beginning of something incredible. I mean, this is some good stuff. Singleton, 12-year. And I was like, oh, when she gave it to me, I wasn't really looking closely. And I was like, it's probably whiskey flavored chocolate, but it's not. It's chocolate that it has encased very nice whiskey in each little bottle.
You should send me one of those or send me one of those or something. I have no alcohol in this house. So you're going to be celebrating.
Well,
Drunk by yourself.
I'll drink for both of us. Yeah, I'll wash down my actual old fashioned with chocolate whiskey, chocolate full of whiskey.
We'll change your name to Ghost for this.
Yeah, I'm not going to go full Ghost. No, never go full Ghost.
But anyway, guys, this is not pre-recorded. This is actually live. I don't even know why we're doing this on Christmas, but I'm home with the kids, and they're sleeping, and my girlfriend's with her family in another town, and so I got nothing else to do. And you clearly have no friends, and your family doesn't like you, so you have nothing else to do. Yeah. So here we are. We're gonna talk about stuff. Don't know how long we'll go. We put
you've set a very low bar, which is good.
Yeah, there's some preparation into this, but it wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. Oh, I do have another question for you. I'm going to do my best to keep tabs on the chat because there's this new feature where you can gift subscriptions. And so we've gotten a few come in. One of them from Seaside Lady. She gifted 5 subscriptions. And somehow you were awarded with one of these memberships to Badlands.
I literally just got an email for that just before going live.
Yeah, I'm curious.
That I was gifted a subscription. So thank you. I am now a proud supporter by proxy of Badlands Media.
Yeah, my question was, why weren't you already?
Thank you to me for supporting this company through Seaside.
Eleanor 2000 also gifted a subscription. Let's see if there's any more. So those are the tough one. Boom Diggity became a monthly supporter. Oh, Boom Diggity gifted 20 subscriptions. Holy cow. Thank you, Boom Diggity. That is a sweet feature. I like that. Were you ever on during the Twitch days?
I wasn't. I didn't stream, obviously, but I never liked Twitch as the interface. I watched a few of your streams on there. I think I was
stalking me for a while.
You guys were all there at that point, right?
Yeah, that's where I started.
Yeah, I didn't like the UI, and I know that that's like blasphemous because a lot of people love the Twitch UI, but I don't know.
I don't know either, but whatever. How about let's get to our first our sponsors of tonight's show, and then we'll chat a little bit, and then we'll get into the topics, I guess. But first up, we got a little Mike Lindell. So if you're behind on your Christmas shopping or want to pre-plan for next year, there's some great sales going on over at MyPillow.
Well, I just want to be clear. This is a regular sized Mike Lindell as far as we're aware, but it's a small duration of him.
What did I say?
You said a little Mike Lindell.
Oh.
And I was like, he's regular sized.
Yeah,
Although I
that's
guess
true.
we don't know
We don't know
because
that
this
for
could
sure.
all be to scale. Yeah.
Have you seen Willy Wonka? They can shrink people
course.
for TV, and we don't know.
Yeah.
If Mike Lindell seems like he could be doing some Willy Wonka style stuff in that factory. Like, who knows?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I shouldn't assume. There's no other people in what we're about to see. Everything here could be to scale that is a little small, as you said.
And think of it, like if you're a pillow manufacturer and you wanted to make a lot of pillows, like it would take significantly less material if you made them in a very small size and then enlarged them to big size.
Exactly.
And that's why you can give such great discounts. That's probably what's happening.
That could be how he has so much energy too. He's just a tiny guy.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. We'll see. Well, let's
All right, we'll
I wanna
see.
keep
Make
my eye
up
on
your
this
own
and
mind.
see.
We don't
Yep.
want to program you guys, so.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
It's hard to tell.
It is hard to tell. There is obvious green screen work, though, which you would need to hide the fact that you were not regular sized.
That's true. Now this
filming, so
we might have to discuss this on Basis Conspiracies now, because there's some meat on this bone, I think. I don't know.
I agree.
But our other sponsor tonight, we got our good friends over at Goldco. Let me get the ad read up for this one, because I actually have to read this one. 1 second. Okay, here we go. The last 4 years have put so much stress on American family finances. Help end the stress now with President-elect Donald Trump and by investing in gold and silver. Join the thousands of hardworking Americans taking proactive steps to help protect and safeguard their savings with our partners at Goldco. Goldco has been established as a top-rated precious metals company and a leader in the gold industry, providing white glove treatment for over 10 years. Their buyback guarantee assures you that if your situation changes, they will repurchase your metals at the best price, providing you with peace of mind. You'll have the peace of mind that comes from knowing that your hard-earned assets are securely diversified. Find out the relationship between gold, silver, Trump, and you with the free report focused on Trump and your financial future. You may even qualify for up to 10% back in bonus silver. Visit badlandsgold.com to claim your free information and instantsilver.com/badlands to see how much free silver you can get. That's badlandsgold.com and instantsilver.com/badlands. Take control of your financial destiny. You know, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I bet they would have brought Bitcoin if they had that back then. You know what I mean? Probably.
Yeah. They might have brought it. You can't see it with the naked eye, so
like a hard wallet, cold wallet or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think on that note, I saw a couple of people say this in the chat. Somebody said, Liz Jane, so sweet to see everyone saying Merry Christmas again. We've come a long way from 2016. And I feel like I don't know if it's just because Trump won the election, whatever, but it does feel to me like Christmas is back this year compared to a lot of years in the last decade. Like, it feels like more people are saying it. Maybe I'm seeing it more on TV. And dare I say, Donald Trump saved Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong to think that. Maybe it's partially because social media too. Like, social media now, Elon owns, and everybody's just like,
true.
All the people that would say Merry Christmas maybe weren't on the platform a year ago and years prior, and now they're allowed to be. So, but yeah, I think you're right. And I don't know, it's been a good Christmas. Kids my age, like they're pretty easily pleased. They're easy to spoil because you don't need to get them
you
big
mean
stuff.
Kids the age of your
my
children,
kids,
not you.
Are you going to be like a grammar Nazi all night?
Well, I mean, that one was like, you literally said kids my age.
Yeah,
are easy to spoil.
I just love Christmas because you don't have to get them like big stuff. You just get them a bunch of little stuff, and they're they're happy.
Yeah,
The Crane
like a
Op, thank you
tiny
for
little
the
Mike Lindell
subscription.
for each child.
Yeah, I don't know about that. No.
A tiny bottle of chocolate encased whiskey for each young 8-year-old to drift them off to sleep.
They did get little chocolate snowmen. So same, except they were filled with caramels, I think, not whiskey. So
Oh,
it's
you say
probably the same
caramel, huh?
process. What?
I would have guessed that you say that if I were to take bets. Just
For what?
another thing.
I don't even know what you're talking about right now.
Caramel.
Yeah?
I say caramel.
Oh, well, of course you do.
I mean, chat, what do you guys say? I want to see this.
Hey,
You can
this
move
is gonna
forward.
be
I'll log it.
Maybe we should just end the show right now. GBA 512 50 subscriptions. What the hell is going on? You guys
I don't
are
see those in the. Oh, I see. There it is.
amazing.
That's crazy.
How much is a subscription?
Is it $5 a month, chat? Can you guys
Oh, it's
let us
$5
know?
for one
Or is it a
sub.
year?
50 subs is $250. Wow.
Damn.
Thank you.
Much
That is
appreciated.
insane.
Going to be a lot of red castles, right? Because that's what you get.
That's what you get, a red castle.
Awesome. Yeah, that's like 2/3 of the chat now has red castles. That's sweet. Good stuff.
Yeah. You got to get to a point where everybody has red castles. But yeah, thank you for the generosity, guys. Okay,
Thanks for all the rants coming in too, guys, by the way. We will obviously grab those later on. And some very generous boosts came in for the whole company this week. Much appreciated. We will get to those too.
Okay, and now I got to... Mrs. Bright said something I can't let fly.
Uh-oh.
Where's that? I got to try to pull it up. I can just read it, I guess. Normally on PP side, but I'm going to have to side with BB here. And
She says caramel.
we're going to need a new event coordinator now.
You know what? If this is what did it, then I'm willing to die on that hill. The Brights will die on that hill.
Whatever. It's a North Dakota thing. I say it the way I say it, and I'm not going to apologize.
A lot of people say caramel, and it's just, it's a sign of the times, right? People stopped saying Merry Christmas. People started saying caramel. Probably around the same time.
So you think those two things are related?
Mm-hmm. They could be.
Okay. Now I officially hate you. A couple of funny posts I want to go through. Now I think this is actually happening. I want to do this one and then Chris Paul's Unity thing. We'll get this off the bat because I'm sure people are going to freak out about us.
Piss everybody off right away.
Yep, and then we'll recover from it. By the end of the
Yeah.
show, we're all going to be giving hugs and
I
hot
like
chocolate
that.
to each other. Owen Benjamin posted this, and I thought it was great. This is Tim Pool under his dirty beanie that he never takes off. Is Ben Shapiro whispering and scheming? Never trust a man who never takes off his hat. Tim cast him onto you. You'll never get the Sorcerer's Stone. Is it true that he sold Timcast
Do
to
you know what
the
this
Daily
reference
Wire?
is, first of all?
Yeah, this is Harry Potter. I've seen Harry Potter,
Okay.
bro.
Well, if people don't know the reference,
This is the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
The very first one. Underneath this hat is like a Voldemort. He who shall not be named, even though I just named him. And he's scheming, whispering stuff.
Yeah.
And this was hilarious. But is it true now? Like, do we have confirmation that Tim Pool sold to Ben Shapiro at the Daily Wire?
I don't think so. Not that I've seen. And I don't, those graspy little paws are a little, I would guess that they're legally trigger happy. So I will submit for the record that these are pure conjectures and rumors, irresponsible rumors. The only public statement I saw from Tim Pool referencing the rumors of his podcast being financially related to the Daily Wire was to post an Israeli flag that he later claimed was a troll, which could be a troll, but he did not refute. As far as I'm aware, he has not refuted. Ghost said it well in the chat. We don't have non-confirmation.
The reporting that's out there, and like I have no idea, I've never heard of MediaRightNews.com. Like this could be, I don't know. This could
Just
be
some
a
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who Kay Williamson is, but they're reporting that Tim Pool is reportedly selling his entire Timcast operation to the Daily Wire effective January 1st. Sources confirmed to Media Right News. So interesting. I don't know who the sources are, but
Probably two unnamed people close to the situation. Those same two guys. They're
we're
always
a week away from
wrestling around.
finding out, I guess.
Yep.
But that would be notable. because there's also talks of Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire selling to Fox News. And what the fuck?
I don't know if this was on, I think it was on the Home Alone episode of Story Hour last night, which, by the way, guys, if you're looking for something to watch over the coming days, Chris, Ghost, and I did Home Alone, talked about how it's actually a treatise on game theory and infinite players. But during that, we referenced this. And, you know, my way of thinking about it is, let's just say hypothetically, something like this comes to fruition or is exposed in public. The story is going to be that these things just happened, right? Like now or recently. But man, for a lot of people like us that have had our questions about why certain figures are never banned or anything like that, to me, it looks like links in a chain that have been invisible unless you had the eyes to see them, and maybe now are being made much more visible to everybody. You know, Ghost has kind of been talking about for a while that for the last few weeks, it seems like something is changing right now where it concerns the people we call Con Inc. Something is going on. And while they seem more confident and popular than ever, I'm not so sure that's going to last. It would be hard to recover from these kinds of links. Like,
what do you mean something is going on? Like what is he referring to?
Well, this story you're talking about, right? Let's just keep it as this is rumored. There are rumored, the more firm rumor is Fox News purchasing the Daily Wire. When the owner of the Daily Wire was asked about this, his name escapes me off the top of my head. Is it Jeremy Boring or something? Said he was not opposed to the idea, right? So that's a stronger connection right now. But if this happens, to me, we have spent years talking about how there are people who are earnest MAGA, even if you don't agree with them. You don't have to agree with all of them. And then there are people who are pretending to be MAGA as a branding opportunity, but who actually are actively working to subvert the movement. And there are people that get upset when we say that. But if Fox News ends up de facto owning Con Inc., that's going to go a long way of hindsight. I would hope that most people are smart enough not to think that that means they're just started being a relationship between these entities, right?
Yeah. And if like people like Fox News are willing to buy a Daily Wire and a Daily Wire consolidated with Timcast, and you know you hate Fox News for the bullshit they pull, they're controlled. What does that tell you about them being willing to buy those people? It means they're either controlled already or willing to be controlled moving forward. Like either way, it's bad. But this is what Chris posted, and I thought this was really good. You reposted on Twitter too. Chris Paul on True Social. Trump isn't the one out there demanding unity. Trump is out there dividing people, so every issue is battled out and consensus begins forming around the right answer, not whatever yields compromise or whatever supports a particular party. The goal is not unity. Unity in a time like this requires compromising to the point of corruption. That's what compromising with evil requires. It's mostly done out of fear of the necessary conflict. That's how we got here. Stand in truth. Let the sifter do its work. I think this is brilliant because there's so many. Anytime we like talk negatively about anybody else, people get pissed off and pissy, and like I get emails about Charlie Kirk and how he registered so many people, and then he's out here supporting what's the guy's name, Cenk Uyghur. Everybody's giving a standing ovation to Cenk Uyghur at the TPUSA. That dude was like 6 months ago calling for MAGA to be in concentration camps, and like why do we look to unify with somebody like that? But anyway, we don't need to we don't need to change who we are and compromise to unite with these people if we believe we're operating in truth. Like if we keep doing the way we're doing things with the level of integrity, they should catch up to us at some point. Otherwise, they're going to be sifted out of the things, right?
Yeah, it was brilliantly said by Chris. We talked about this. I think Chris and I were on the same panel. We talked about something very close to this in Myrtle Beach, the idea of, there was the party of false decorum, which Chris also came up with, right? And the party of false decorum, typically he talks about it in Hollywood. We talk about it in the government, the mainstream media, but the subject of that panel is that there is a party of false decorum within MAGA. And I think, to your point about people can get upset sometimes about this, like, oh, you're down in the mud. Like I get it sometimes where people are like, I just don't want to hear it. But we're going to do what we think is important. We're going to point out things we think is important. We don't know if we're right about these things. Obviously, adults shouldn't have to explain that every time they say something. But if we're right about some of these figures, it's incredibly important that people know that. Because, it's not there's an old saying, it's not the wolf in the hills, it's the wolf in the house. It's like, we know who the obvious enemy is. We know who's infiltrated this country, communists, socialists, deep state, but the most subversive enemy has always been the ones that kind of put your clothes on. And I like the way Chris framed it and building it around unity. That's it. There you go. Great quote there for anybody listening. Ghost posted, "I didn't come to bring peace, I came to bring division." A quote alleged by Jesus. And I think it's great that Chris focuses on that unity word, which we talked about in Myrtle. You, as a viewer, as a MAGA, whatever, as a person, are allowed to follow anybody you want or unfollow anybody you want, as people have said in the last few months. But the truth doesn't need a team. I think that's kind of the way I think about it. You just said, if they're on the side of the truth, they're going to end up in the same place as all of us, right?
Yeah.
So we don't need to worry about that stuff. You don't need to concern yourself with bringing people along. Just go forward in what you think is true and what you think is right, and you're going to be among other people that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I think people like the idea of unity because the idea of unity gives them like the warm and fuzzies. Like, oh, we're all gonna sit around a bonfire and hold hands and have s'mores, and it's just gonna be great. It's gonna be a great thing. But when you really think about what you might be sacrificing to make unity with certain people, and like Charlie Kirk, again, I'll look forward to the emails, but them bringing on Cenk Uygur, like I could not believe, I couldn't believe it. Like I don't see any benefit like that. That wasn't a good faith discussion debate. I know Charlie Kirk dunked him on a few things, and that was cool, good for him. But like, what is warm and fuzzy about that? This guy was irrelevant now. Like he was irrelevant because everything he said about Trump and Meghan, the election, and all this stuff was wrong. He's into bestiality, and he wants to put our side into concentration camps. They didn't address any of that, but while bringing him on, and instead, Charlie Kirk gave his audience to Cenk Uygur, boosting his audience now. Like, what is the point of that? Why? Like, what are Cenk's intentions? I can't believe it. But it's probably going to be uncomfortable for a little bit here. Like this first part of Trump's term, I bet it's going to be a little uncomfortable when he starts doing some things that maybe even we don't understand. But again, it's going to cause division within MAGA about how we should be proceeding forward. And I think that's a good thing because we all will rally around the truth. And Donald Trump will get us to what's best for us at the end of the day. I don't know.
Yeah, it's exactly. I mean, the jank.
Is it jank or Cenk? I call him Cenk.
It's jank, I guess.
I'm going to call him Cenk. I like
with
Cenk much better.
Yeah, that's good.
Because
he might be a different form of him. Maybe
I said the other day in a chat,
Cenk.
I will always call him Cenk because I feel like that's what he would do in an open body of water.
Right. I think it's important. I think bringing him up is a good move because, there's another. I guess it's still the same unity thing that Chris is talking about, but the jank aspect of it is a little bit of a different flavor. I think that's even more subversive. So when I think the unity play, I think Con Inc., right? When people are like, don't say mean things about Benny Johnson after he word for word, like, takes something you said, puts breaking in all caps in front of it. It's not just because it's personal animus. When people do that to you, of course it makes sense that you would personally be pissed off. It's that it's dishonest. It is somebody representing themselves as having come up with an idea that they did not come up with, or researched something that they did not research. Like, you don't need to unify with people like that. But the jank angle, that's like, those are people that are our avowed media enemies that, like you said, wanted to put us in concentration camps, or they said they wanted to. Now, I'm somebody who believes in forgiveness and believes that people can go through somewhat shocking growth and change arcs. I believe that that's true. But we don't need to build their reputations and like let them in the gates. They, as you said about the truth earlier, they're going to end up in the same place as us. If Cenk actually had some sort of come to MAGA Jesus moment, he's going to end up in the same place as us. We don't need to put him on a fucking stage in front of a bunch of impressionable 22-year-old Trump voters and tell them that he's our guy now. Like, that's just, it's a little too on the nose. And I guess that's what I meant. And I think this is what Ghost is referencing when, man, it seems almost too... It doesn't seem like this is going to go well for the people that we call Con Inc. I just can't see it going well long term.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, a lot of those people are definitely more well connected than we are to Trump. I guess they're a lot closer to his inner circle than we are, and that is what it is. The dishonesty thing, that's just that's like his personality trait. Like the dude is fired from BuzzFeed for 41 instances of plagiarizing, which is insane in and of itself. But let's talk a little bit about where did I want to go with this next? I had another post I wanted to share, I think. Or maybe we should go through a couple of Trump's Truth Social posts, because there were some pretty awesome ones, especially about the Greenland topic. I think it's really interesting. Trump now, not only with the Panama Canal thing, like he wants that back. He doesn't want China running it. But he's been talking an extensive amount about Greenland. And so we should read through some of these, and Canada. But let's start with, I'll just read through a few of these we can discuss. Let's start with, this looks like a Canada one, but I thought it was interesting. I just left Wayne Gretzky, the great one, as he is known in ice hockey circles. I said, Wayne, why don't you run for Prime Minister of Canada, soon to be known as Governor of Canada? You would win easily. You wouldn't even have to campaign. He had no interest, but I think the people of Canada should start a draft Wayne Gretzky movement. It would be so much fun to watch. And so here he is again. He's stuck with this troll, and honestly, maybe there is some truth to it. Maybe he actually does want Canada. I don't know. I don't, but
I think
it's interesting he's still posting about it.
Yeah. I think that this is, again, narrative. These are narrative deployments. I do think that there's meaning to them, but I don't think that it's the meaning is Canada's going to literally be the 51st state. I don't know if I shared this last week, but I thought this was a great microcosm of how it started, how it's going. To me, this Canada deployment is just a perfect example of the power of Trump's abstract power projection. Through pure narrative, this is the result in Canada right now. A dumpster fire wrapped up in a cluster inside the chaos of Justin Trudeau's Ottawa. So this whole write-up is essentially just documenting last week. Chrystia Freeland, who stepped down like in the immediate aftermath of Trudeau being seen as publicly capitulating to Trump's border demands after visiting Mar-a-Lago. Freeland, for anybody who's not aware of her, she's the finance minister of Canada. But more than that, even when I lived there, I was aware of her. She really became infamous during the COVID lockdowns in Canada as like the biggest government cheerleader. She's, I think she's World Economic Forum.
What's her name again?
That may not be. Chrystia Freeland.
How do you spell Chrystia?
Chrystia. Chrystia. She's a globalist through and through, like a frothing at the mouth globalist. And many people, myself included, if you were to ask me 6 months ago, who is Justin Trudeau's handler? Because nobody thinks Justin Trudeau runs Canada. Like he's a drama teacher, even for a deep state stooge. He's a mouthpiece. He's an actor. I would have put Freeland on my short list, if not number one. Like she runs Canada. The fact that she quit, and then our own actually at Badlands, Matt Errett, who does Breaking History with Ghost, he is Canadian. Unfortunately, it's terminal. He can't quite kick it. But he was talking about, I think it's Mark Carney is a guy that the globalists in Canada are trying to position to be the next prime minister. Carney is a close ally of Chrystia Freeland. And now the rumors out of Ottawa are that Carney is not close to running for prime minister. It doesn't have the support. Freeland is now out of Trudeau's cabinet. So, I've been half joking, but less joking every day that we might be getting an Our Boy True sort of rapid fire version of Our Boy Blue, where the globalists seem to have lost some control over Justin up there. And, I don't think it's because of Trump's narrative deployments, but you can see just what he's provoked up there. Him making these statements and these quote unquote jokes has Canada's government basically an open freefall.
Yeah, I was trying to find the video. I can't find it, but with the Chrystia Freeland resignation, that came on the day that there was a finance report that was due. Like they were supposed to release the final like accounting for the year for 2024, like all the public accounts. Oh, you got your sweater now? Thank you, Miss Bright.
Yes, but now the wolf is in here as well among us. Speaking of letting wolves right in,
just don't like pick up your cat and you should be fine. But yeah, so there's this finance report, like all the public accounts were supposed to be publicly released, like the audit for the year. And that was supposed to happen the day she resigned. And then the other person, like directly under her, who would have released those reports, also resigned. And so they were resigning, I believe, over these reports. And I found a couple posts on it, but I've never seen these people. I don't know if they're any good, but this kind of gives a good background. So this is my understanding of what's happening and why she resigned. And maybe there's a bigger scandal going on in Canada than we think, if that's even possible. But this Dan Knight says, the Trudeau government, masterclass in obfuscation, fiscal recklessness, zero accountability, just pulled off another slick political maneuver. This time it's the public accounts of 2024 in Canada. Document that should be front page news, but it's buried so deep in the cycle, blah, blah, blah. They dropped its final audited financial statements for the fiscal year, the last day of the sitting session. No one's watching. First, they had the fall economic statement released just yesterday, a forward-looking document that basically is a glossy brochure, blah, blah, blah. But the public accounts, that's where you see the hard, cold truth. The deficit is exploding, hitting $61.9 billion. I mean, that's it. These guys are only in the billions still for their deficit.
Those are rookie numbers. They're going to pump those up.
Yeah. And Canada's finances are way past the so-called guardrails that they promised, blah, blah. So there's this huge like deficit, and Chrystia Freeland, the fiscally responsible finance minister who resigned in the middle of this chaos. What are the odds? So that's what I think is going on there. So it's even more interesting that like, and even when it comes to Greenland, like there's a reason I think that he's picking each of these things, and part of it's national security, like Canada's on our northern border. Like it'd obviously be good to have somebody we could trust on our northern border. Greenland has its own, national security, strategic location, shipping routes, all these things. And plus, they're not even necessarily a sovereign state. Like they are technically, aren't they like an autonomous region of Denmark?
Yeah, totally.
And so wouldn't it be interesting if like Trump wants Greenland, and Greenland, the people that live there are like, yeah, we totally want to be part of America. But Denmark's like, no, you can't have it. And then those people somehow finagle their own sovereignty out of that just because Trump said he wanted Greenland. So there's just weird reasons for all this stuff. The Panama Canal, is that actually
the Panama Canal, I think, is interesting.
Is it actually about China national security, or is it more about illegal immigration? Right. Like, who knows? There's so many interesting things to each of these situations.
Well, the actuals that you just point out there about Canada's finances, I think, are particularly interesting because sometimes this stuff, we come at it from different angles, but the truth is that it's both, right? We're talking about Trump narrative deployment, like what's going on in Canada? Why is there a shakeup in the government? Is it Trump's deployments about Canada, or is it these actual financial issues and there's this budding controversy? I think you're right that that's the actual, but what I would say is that why did Trump target Canada right now, and why did he target them? Now, I know that the narrative deployment about Canada was all about the border. It was about border security, right? But really, it was about money, which is interesting that you bring all that stuff up. Donald Trump is saying, Donald Trump threatened tariffs, which are economic sanctions, essentially, on Canada, so a financial burden, and Canada, his request of them was to divert funding toward border security of their own nation and to stop fentanyl production, etc. Now, there's probably more going on there, but isn't it interesting timing in light of what you just point out about Canada's financial situation that Trump picks right now to deploy a narrative, it's an actual, because he's threatening, he's saying, if you don't do what I want financially, you're going to get hit with tariffs. And then we all read, a couple weeks ago at the infamous now Trudeau Mar-a-Lago dinner, Trump reportedly said at that table, or Trudeau said rather, Canada will be financially devastated if you enact these tariffs. So yeah, all this financial controversy is going on in Canada, but Freeland has never been shy about passing the buck off to the Canadian people. So Trump also, the biggest signal to me that something more is going on here is after Freeland resigned, Trump put out that truth post and said Freeland doesn't know how to make a deal, which implies that Justin does, right? You would think. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to watch.
It makes no sense when you consider the natural resources that Canada actually has. Like, how in the hell do they run a deficit at all?
They should be thriving.
They should be.
They should be thriving.
So, I mean, if Trump is actually looking to make them a state, like I could see the why there, being a guy who wants to, drill baby drill. The downside to me, like when I first look with any of these things, it's like, okay, we want to add another territory to the electoral college vote and the popular vote when we don't have our elections under control. Like, let's not do that. Let's figure this out first, and then we can add anybody you want. Because I fully believe if we had free and fair elections, a majority of the people, 60, 70, 80% of the people are going to vote the way MAGA goes. Like, I truly believe that. And I think it's been that way for a while. It's just they obfuscate, they cheat, they lie, they steal votes. And that's why we are where we are. And that's what happened in 2024 still. And we're still seeing the ramifications of that. There's rumors we might not even get RFK Jr. through. Like, some of these cabinet picks might not get through. And that's because we have rhinos in there. But anyway, and look, we're going to get to Matt Gaetz too for a little bit at some point. But anyway, there's strategic, reasons why you'd want Canada and Greenland and all these places. But let me read this post. This one's about China and the canal. Merry Christmas to all. And I love it when Trump does these Christmas posts that aren't as much about Christmas at all. They're just he wants to call somebody out. He did this last year too. And maybe I should read the last year's first, because this was so funny. This was a year ago. Just to give you this is a theme. This is what he does. They spotted my campaign, lied to Congress, cheated on FISA, rigged a presidential election, allowed millions of people, many from prisons and mental institutions, to invade our country, screwed up in Afghanistan, and Joe Biden's misfits and thugs like deranged Jack Smith are coming after me at levels of persecution never seen before in our country. It's called election interference. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Again, though, in typical Trump fashion, even that, he's got a bunch of question marks after that first statement, which is not a statement, it's a question.
True.
He's not actually telling you that any of that is happening. He's like, wouldn't it be crazy if all of these things were happening? But everybody reads it subconsciously as him making a claim.
Yeah. I didn't see you correct his grammar here once. And I'm pretty sure that sentence...
It's correct grammar.
It's not correct grammar to put 3 question marks after a one
true.
Sentence. You're going to be a grammar.
Just saying, people are assuming he's making a claim here, but he's actually asking a question.
It's fair. That's a good point, though. Okay, now to this year, his Merry Christmas wish. Merry Christmas to all, including to the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal, where we lost 38,000 people in its building 110 years ago. Always making certain that the United States puts its billions of dollars in repair money, but will have absolutely nothing to say about anything. Also, to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, whose citizens' taxes are far too high, but if Canada was to become our 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size, and they would be militarily protected like no other country anywhere in the world. Likewise to the people of Greenland, which is needed by the United States for national security purposes, and who want the U.S. to be there, and we will. It goes on.
Now, the second statement there was grammatically incorrect.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just point that out.
I appreciate your now consistency. Merry Christmas to the radical left lunatics who are constantly trying to obstruct our court system and our elections, and are always going after the great citizens and patriots of the United States, but in particular their political opponent, me. They know that their only chance of survival is getting pardons from a man who has absolutely no idea what he's doing. Also to the 37 most violent criminals who killed, raped, and plundered virtually no one before them, but were just given incredibly a pardon by sleepy Joe Biden. I refuse to wish a Merry Christmas to those lucky souls, but instead will say go to hell. We had the greatest election in history of our country. A bright light is now shining over the USA, and in 26 days, we will make America great again. Merry Christmas. I can't imagine what his Christmas cards are like. But yeah, this is just it's great. He touches on everything. Like, what if he's actually serious? Okay, like my mindset about Canada, Greenland, all this stuff is he's joking. He's publicly negotiating, trying to see where he can get things. But what if he is like actually set on, like, I want Canada, I want Greenland, I want the Panama Canal. And if he goes to the Panama Canal, he's eventually going to be like, well, there's a lot of separation between us and the Panama Canal. Like, let's just take Mexico. And I just want all of North America.
See, I think that if we've got like two extremes, or binaries, one scenario is nothing on an actual level changes, and these are negotiating tactics for business between the United States and these other entities. That's one scenario, right? Scenario B is we get Canada as the 51st state, Panama Canal, and Greenland. I do think that there's this like amorphous in between that Trump is pointing out. I don't know, but my gut, what is he doing? Yeah, I think he's negotiating, to your point. I don't think Canada is literally going to become the 51st state. I don't think that we're going to get Greenland as a state. But I think what Trump is saying is to the Canadian people, especially that post I hadn't seen that post, the Christmas post. The section on Canada I found really interesting in that post because Trump, does his normal Governor Justin Trudeau, right? Keeps the negotiations going. But he's got a threat in there. And the threat is about the Canadian people. To Governor Trudeau of Canada, then this is the key, whose citizens' taxes are far too high. I think what he's saying there's a lot of research that I've read from economists that are saying Canada is the powder keg that the U.S. has basically been saying it is over the last 4 years. Economically, the Canadian middle class is absolutely devastated right now. People, especially like millennials, I have family up there who want to buy a house, and to buy a normal house up there, they basically need they were putting offers in of like $1.6 million. And these are people that
middle
with
class?
good jobs, but I would call them upper middle class. Like they work in the city, they make good money, husband and wife, they cannot afford a reasonable house. And this is happening across the board up there.
What kind of house is that up there?
I don't know. I would say like a 2-3 bedroom house or something like that.
For 1.6 million?
Yeah. It's crazy. And now that's Canadian dollars. If you convert it to the US, it's closer to 1 million, 1.1, right? Something like that. But the housing market up there, I've heard Australia is similar, but per capita in terms of debt to income ratio, Canada outstrips us by an order of magnitude. So in our housing market is horrible right now for middle class people. Yeah. And the reason though, I think my point here is that I think Trump is laying out these threats and basically saying he's signaling to the Canadian people. Like everything you just showed about the financial situation in Canada, I think we're going to get an accelerated Biden term up there. Elections are supposedly due toward the end of 2025 in Canada. And they want Trudeau out now so they can kind of rig the game ahead of time. He's saying he's not going to leave. So it seems like a Biden thing. And I'm just wondering how bad things are going to get economically up there. And do you get the Canadian people making more nationalist sovereign demands like out of their own government, like we've seen out of the US during the Biden term? I think that's kind of what Trump is doing here. He's saying like, listen, it's up to you guys. You guys aren't maybe going to be the 51st state, but wouldn't it be nice if you functioned more like that than what's going on?
Well, it is interesting too, because like everything you just said, it sounds kind of like California. Like California's housing prices, and like it's the most liberal state in the country.
Very similar.
And it's out of control out there. But yeah, maybe that is what he's doing. He's just trying to get these people to like take back the country for themselves, because that's what he ultimately wants everywhere, is giving the government back to we the people. I mean, obviously that starts here, but if he could do that everywhere, that's quite the legacy to leave. Not that he's in it for the legacy or anything.
Yeah. But your point about Greenland is kind of interesting. Like, I know you were half joking, but it's kind of interesting when you lay that out and say, what do the people of Greenland think about what Greenland is or should be? Who do the people of Greenland think they should be answering to? And is he doing the same thing here?
like if Trump was serious about taking or like, purchasing Greenland or making Greenland become part of the United States, and the people of Greenland like all got together, did a vote on it, and were like, yes, we want this. And it's like, I'm talking a majority, 75, 80%. But then Denmark, a different country, comes in and says, no, we're not going to let that happen. Like, how would they feel? Like that could spark them to want to take their country back and become sovereign. Remus Bright, you want to read this?
Yeah. I mean, it's just interesting as a domesticated Canadian, a rewilded Canadian is the term I like to use. There are many Canadians who don't think
can you read it?
Assimilate. So she says, She says, I was worried about the same thing in terms of Canadians' assimilation. I don't think the majority of Canadians could acclimate well to U.S. society. It seems very similar, but it's drastically different. I've made my little anecdotes about that, where I lived in Canada for a while, and you would think it's very similar, but culturally it is to the U.S., but during COVID, it was absolutely eye-opening to me about how Canadian people do not think about freedom the same way as Americans. And I'm not talking about like waving your flag. Like they literally, even Canadians that were against the COVID shots, for example, I knew some of them, we were friends with them, were utterly shocked that I just decided not to do it, right? Like not to take the vaccines, because to them, you just do what the government says, even if you don't like it. And I really do think that's a fundamental, like, pure difference between even liberal Americans. Like, while liberal Americans can be crazy lunatics, most of them do believe that you have autonomy over your choices and that the government cannot tell you what to do with my body, my choice, right? That's a liberal talking point. That is not what Canadians believe. Like they mostly believe, and I'm not talking about Alberta. Shout out to Alberta. They seem based out there, but there's like 10 of them. So
we'll take them, but
we'll take Alberta. That's my offer. As first, what was I? Assistant to the regional governor of the 51st state, I think is what I proposed I would be.
So when did this is probably a stupid question, but I've never actually studied Canada. When did they become like their own country?
That's pretty interesting. Canada gained. Let's consult AI. Canada gained full independence from the British Parliament on April 17th, 1982. When the British Parliament...
1982?
1982. And now, this is the kicker. When the British Parliament approved the Canada Act, also known as the Constitution Act of 1982. This act patriated the British North America Act of 1867 to Canada, ending Canada's dependence on the Parliament of Westminster. It gave Canada the right to amend its own constitution, etc. So, first of all, the timing that you point out is absolutely silly and absurd, because Canada has been acting like it's a real country for a couple of centuries, when it was very literally a vassal state of England until 1982. What's more, they never gained independence. They were given a permission slip by England that said, oh, you guys can amend your own constitution now. It's not a real country.
But they would only do that if they could create a constitution there that they could have some control over.
That they approved of.
Yeah, it can't be a true one, The
Queen is on their money. To this day, the Queen is on their money. And when you say that to Canadians, like they're like, oh, you're being silly. It's like, your sovereign money is literally paying fealty to English monarchs.
And it's called Looney Tunes, like Loonies and Toonies.
Yeah, that's very silly.
That's very cartoonish.
But yeah, I mean, maybe this is why it's pure projection, but if there's more deeper levels of game theory going on with Trump's deployments, I genuinely think he's trying to get the Canadian people and maybe Greenland people to say, have you guys ever thought about who makes your decisions, whether or not you're sovereign people? And now imagine this in a year. when we think, hopefully, things are turning around in the U.S., how's that comparison game going to feel in the minds of people in Canada while Justin Castro is their prime minister, as things are going a little bit differently south of their border?
Yeah, this is interesting. Now I'm curious. I want to study a little bit more about this because I wonder where along the line this connects to the Prussiagate series, because it does. Absolutely know it does.
Chris has been talking recently as well, and he could talk more about this maybe on Saturday. You should ask him. He's been doing a lot of research into the Articles of Confederation.
Oh yeah, I know.
And I believe that there was a proposal at one point, or there was an option at one point for Canada to be a part of that. They zigged when they should have zagged.
That is interesting. And there's something in here about the Balfour Declaration, which doesn't that have something to do with like Israel or something?
I don't know much about it.
Man, I could be wrong. I don't know. God damn, this fucking hat is so itchy. I don't know how Tim Pool does it. Wears a hat 24/7. Can't do it. But I'm doing it for you guys, just for the Christmas spirit. But yeah, we can kind of get off this topic. It is interesting though.
Can I read one more quote about that? This is the summary of Canada's independence. In 1931, the British Parliament passed the Statute of Westminster, which acknowledged Canada as co-equal with the UK and other Commonwealth realms. This gave Canada nearly complete legislative autonomy from the Parliament of the UK. So it's like, there's also, even when you think of the UK, like the Queen still had, the royalty still has to approve the results of their elections. And they've all just gaslit themselves into being like, this is ornamental. Like this is, what's the word? This is like pageantry. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, maybe, except it still is in your constitution that the monarchs have to sign off on your elections.
I found something weird. And again, it's Wikipedia. Sorry, I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't listen to what you're saying because I found something weird. But
just the UK is crap.
Yeah, okay, totally agree. But look at this. So I went from history of Canada. I'll share my screen. Again, Wikipedia, I know, whatever. I know I've heard this Balfour Declaration before. It says Balfour Declaration of 1926. So I clicked on that. And like there's a whole page dedicated to it, right? And then I searched my AI, which is just Brave. You type in Brave, and the first thing that comes up is an AI response. And this is what it says. It says there is no Balfour Declaration of 1926. And this is where I was right about something. The Balfour Declaration was issued on November 2nd, 1917 during World War I. And it stated that the British government viewed with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. This declaration was contained in a letter from British Foreign Secretary Arthur James Balfour to Lord Rothschild, a leader of the British Jewish community. So, Ghost, if you are in the chat, I need some assistance if you want to explain this. I'd let you come on the show and explain it, but I know you can't do it in less than like 4 minutes. So,
and I know that there's obviously Canadians who watch Badlands who don't fit into this category, right? Like just like there's former liberals. It's just we're talking about a country of 30+ million people, and in my experience and in many former Canadians' experience, they're just wired. They're not wired the same, and I think that they need an accelerated version of what we got.
Yeah,
with Biden.
I would agree with that. Obviously, we're trying not to speak in like a specific. We're not talking about you. If you're watching the show, you're definitely not one of the people we're talking about. By the way, guys, since it's Christmas, the best Christmas gift you could ever give us, besides cash to the P.O. box, is a thumbs up on this video. If you want to hit that thumbs up, we greatly appreciate it. Especially today, like Christmas, I can't imagine there are a ton of streams. We might have a low key chance to top the leaderboard. I didn't look, but you never know. So hit that thumbs up. We'd greatly appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to go on this? Did you find anything about Balfour?
Does Canada pledge allegiance to the Queen? Yes, they do still. Just like, as an FYI.
I pledge allegiance.
This is just a Canada roast. This is roast
to the
Canada.
Queen.
No, the Queen personifies the state and is the personal symbol of allegiance, unity, and authority for all Canadians. Legislators, ministers, public services, and members of the military and police all swear allegiance to the Queen. It is for this reason that all new Canadian citizens swear allegiance to the Queen of Canada. The Queen of England.
Well, she is the Queen of Canada too.
So Mrs. Bright said that in the chat, and
that's insane.
That is.
If Matt Errett's watching this, he's like, you guys are like 6 years behind my work here, but this is nuts.
Matt's a weird one. I'm not going to let Matt completely off the hook because he's got great writing, but then he also is as many Canadians, he believes that the answer to every problem is just better government.
Oh, that's interesting.
Govern me harder, daddy,
talking about that.
Many Canadians believe. So Matt's like as based as you can get while still maintaining an identity as fully Canadian. And we're going to see if we can get him further along there. But, you know, so far, I think Ghost has been doing his work, but I don't know how close he is.
Yeah, well, apparently, we forgot to mention the Queen is dead. It's the King now. So they pledge allegiance to the King. Is that accurate, Miss Bright?
I guess so. This is saying the Queen of Canada. What the hell is that?
Probably Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to another topic. We do have other stuff we want to talk about tonight. So, I think let's do this. We'll highlight because this is like a very devolution-y thing. We'll do this. This won't take long, but if you guys remember, whoops, wrong one. Back in my part 16 is when I first started talking about the NSPMs that Trump, like the flurry of NSPMs at the end of his administration, like 9 in the last 10 days. And he issued like one every, 52.7 days or something crazy before that. And these were all national security ones. A couple of them, we still have no idea what they are, but we did end up finding out some of these along the way, like they got updated. And as you know, we've talked about OPSEC, like Operation Security. This is like, you don't talk about operations that you're part of as they're going on, and why when you come to us and be like, see, Kash Patel said that devolution's off the table, or I asked Mike Flynn about it and he said nothing's going on. And, these people aren't going to come out and tell you that you're onto us. You're right. Here's the details. This is an actual part of these plans. It's like, you can't talk about it. It's part of Spec Ops and everything. Well, one of the NSPMs, NSPM 28, the National Operations Security Program, is all about Trump establishing OPSEC at the executive branch. This is specifically what he did on January 13th of 2021, NSPM 28. The establishment, implementation, and standardization of stakeholder OPSEC programs across the executive branch of the U.S. government and as appropriate beyond to trusted partners, which that's interesting there too, when you think of civilian military partnerships. In short, NSPM 28 requires all executive branch departments and agencies implement OPSEC capabilities that identify and protect their most critical assets, identify and mitigate vulnerabilities, and on and on. So that was interesting in and of itself. Okay. There's a Twitter account out there who beat me to this, or she found it. I hadn't made the connection, but it's a good connection. Kat the Great, I recently discovered one of the Trump's national security memos, NSPM 28, relates directly to continuity of government. And this is why we're sharing it here. It's very important. If you remember from my part 13, we talk about FEMA, and they released the federal continuity directives, the FCD 1 and 2. One is like a guideline one, and one is a implementation one. Well, they update these like roughly every 2 to 4 years. The ones that came out in August of 2024 actually mention NSPM 28, and they mention it in relation to continuity of operations, which Coop Cog, like Kash Patel puts it. And this is where this is pretty interesting. In accordance with National Security Presidential Memorandum 28, National Operations Security Program, January 2021, organizations must establish cooperation between their organization's OPSEC program and its continuity of operations elements to ensure effective coordination of the organization's mission essential functions and the agency's critical information. So now we have a direct connection between one of Trump's NSPMs that he left as he was going out the door and continuity planning. And that's pretty damn dastardly, no matter which NSPM it is. But the fact that it's this one having to do with OPSEC and like not talking about it, it's even more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this, it's just great when you've got more actuals to map on there. It's like you've got a thread. There's a certain point in theorizing where you've got this. We know that this could have been implemented. We then see this marker down the line that would be consistent with this being implemented. Then this is like a link in the middle of that chain where it's like, oh, that you would need this as well. And I like what you said there about not talking about it. You're like, it's so, of course, it's so obvious and intuitive to most logical people that would be the case. But to see it in writing is like, yes, it's a reminder that operators never divulge. Not because they're proud of their service or not because they are big jerks, literally as a matter of the oaths that they swore and their roles, they would never as a matter of the operation. It's so obvious, but it's when you see it codified like that, lends more credence to it.
And one more thing I want to point out, another thing that she had pointed out in our thread, and again, this is pretty interesting when you consider what might be going on right now. Again, from the Federal Continuity Directive, talking about alternate sites, which is like basically what devolution is, right? Devolution is you're devolving your authority to other people and other sites. They talk about existing alternate sites should not be eliminated based on the FMRs. Instead, they should be considered and, where possible, used to distribute the day-to-day performance of essential functions. So they're basically saying, like, if you have let's say the power grid, and you have alternate sites for managing that, the way I'm understanding this is those other sites, like the devolution sites, should be used on a day-to-day basis too for aspects, just in case you need to like transfer stuff over, because they already have people there. And when you think about like if devolution is actually ongoing, like that's like that could actually be the Devo team, not even realize they're taking part in devolution as it's going on, and it's true. It's codified in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's that compartmentalization thing, and I think I'm glad you point that out, because even before the show in a different context, we were talking about compartmentalization, and I think I've been thinking about this a lot lately. We use the word compartmentalization so much, and I think we usually use it in a surface level of saying, separate operators, separate missions, all under an umbrella of the same overarching mission. Most people understand that, right? It makes sense. But there's a deeper level of compartmentalization or strategy behind it, which is often to obfuscate the scope of the mission from operators in the mission. And that's what we don't talk about as much. Because we're usually thinking of the whole operation shielding itself from unfriendly eyes or civilian eyes, which makes sense as a matter of national security and strategy. But it also makes sense to ensure that various legs of the overall operation are not aware of each other, which is why often I think when some of these guys that we think are tangentially involved, like maybe they're involved with devolution, but they're not read in on devolution, that can be true under this framing. And these guys might know or believe that they're involved in a continuity of government operation, but they literally don't know. So when they're doing interviews, they're telling the truth, where they're like, yeah, I've read the same stuff. Like, who knows what Trump did? I'm just doing my job. Like, that's what, a very simple way of looking at it is just classic kinetic military operations, where you don't know what the general's doing. Like, you're on the beach, you're doing your mission that was given to your group. You're not asking. It's not up to you to ask what the general's doing. You might have your ideas, though.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great way to put it. And it's absolutely what's going on. Like 100%. Not everybody knows exactly there's very few people that know the full scope of any of this stuff. But yeah, when we find the interesting Devo stuff, I always like to point it out. And I'm curious, like moving forward, how much more of this type of stuff we're going to get like answers to, like things that we've been talking about. When Trump gets in there, is he going to have another update to 13961 or something crazy? Like, I wonder.
Gives you a couple more links in the chain.
Yeah. It's just going to be very interesting to see, because they may, and we've been saying this since like pretty much day one, we may never get the full story of this time period that we've been in, this devolution. They may never admit to it. And if that's the case, like, I think we'll still see evidence later on that we were right about aspects of this stuff. We're definitely not right about all of it, but bits and pieces. And I'm curious to see those things come out, whether it's through the D-class stuff with Kash Patel or executive orders from Trump, or maybe these NSPMs will finally be like declassified when Trump gets back in there. I don't know, but I'm very curious. Excited.
Well, and that's what's going to be fun for people like you is that it's I don't expect grand press conferences of this is what happened, guys, but I do expect we're going to get this this trail of actuals and more links in the chain that start to come out, and then you're able to plug them in. In hindsight to the theory. And one more note on the compartmentalization. One of the things that bothers people who follow the Q drops is certain figures that were referenced in the Q drops, etc., who publicly either disavow the drops directly, or they kind of talk around it and they're like, oh, I don't know about all that. Now, it's possible that they're lying and they do know about all that and they're not divulging because they're operators, right? It's also possible that some figures that you see actually getting worked up and being like, that's a bad psyop, they might really believe that and it not be true, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're a spy, the classic example or template, if you're a spy, your own soldiers might capture you because they don't know. If you're a great spy, you're not going to blow your cover.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works with the Q drops. I mean, we were told in those drops, less than 10 have the full picture. So I think most patriots that we see being interviewed about it, they just are playing coy. But I think a lot of them don't know for sure if that was us, is that our team or not. So, they can be being honest while also helping to kind of forward the mission.
I agree with you. I still say that I would love to get back to I want to get out of the forever psyops, like Chris says. I want to know the truth of what's going on. I don't want to be lied to. I want everything to be open and transparent. I just also know that's like a wet dream. We're never going to get that.
Well, my point though is that in that context, these operators wouldn't be lying, right? If they weren't read in directly on the drops, all they're doing is suspecting that it's a military operation, just like we are.
Yeah.
I do agree that there's some that are directly lying about their involvement. I agree with that, but
there we go. I was trying to figure
out.
Psyop's
gonna psyop.
StreamYard changed their layout on the side, and I wanted to switch to the black logo up in the corner so people could see who. When all you guys watching clip this, because this is such a good show, when you clip it for yourselves and post it on your own channels, I just want to make sure our logo's on there.
You know what's funny? I see Ghost just ranting and raving about Khazarians as he does in the chat. And I just checked the channel and I don't see my takes for tomorrow's brief because there will be a brief compiled on Christmas night.
Lay off the nog, Ghost.
Yeah. Get off the nog, get into the brief, Ghost.
Did you see that video? My noggers. That was so funny.
Oh, yeah, that was
a little dirty, but you know what? We should maybe even play that. If you are of, how would I describe somebody? Well, if you are of delicate sensibilities and would get mad at jokes, if you're Canadian,
they're gonna be so mad. But I already know the comment because I heard it being typed. Not all Canadians are like this, and then there's gonna be 11 upvotes. And hey, I'm trying to.
As soon as they press send though on that message, they become one of the people we're talking about.
Exactly. So, and going back to Chris's post, if you're doing that, then you got to be sifted.
But this is hilarious. I don't care who you are. This is funny. So we're gonna watch this, and then start referring to everybody in the chat as noggers moving forward. Only when Ghost is in the chat.
Yeah.
Here we go.
What's good, my noggers?
No.
What's cracking, my noggas?
Dad, you can't say that.
I can't say it because I am one. I ride for my noggers and I die for my noggers. You look like you're really in the Christmas queer.
Why are you so problematic?
Also, oi Gaetz, all my Hanukkahs. You look like you're going to spin the gatel. You look like you're a rabbi. So I heard you got the lead role in Homo Alono.
Hey, Dad, Terry's taking me to the beach for New Year's.
You know what? Fuck Terry. If I want to lay around with shells in my back, I'd be the CEO of United Healthcare. Well, I don't care if Terry went to Jared. Our son looks like he went to Jared from Subway. I'm not going to spend Christmas alone again, am I? Shut up, you fat fuck. Ow, Christmas dicks. The first step in becoming Naga rich is the eggs. Kwanzaa cocks. You know what? If I want to see shells, I'd just go to a school in Wisconsin.
Did you know the shooter was a girl?
I'm trying to get some of that giant millimeter. I want to read her one manifesto. It's a little chatty from what I understand.
Hey, Dad, are you still seeing that woman in the wheelchair?
Sex life's a little difficult, but at least she's handy capable. And I can give her a little Meals on Wheels. Picking up the homeless shelter at 6. What is our nog? A mediocre artist? Because it's getting shaboozy.
You don't like this song?
No, I don't like those people.
What?
Country music singers. Oh, it smells like Aaron Rodgers' ayahuasca dick.
How'd you know?
What is my son? The movie Elf? Because he's fucking gay. And my son looks like he plays skin flute in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Fuck you, fat bitch. Why don't you go fuck Lizzo? Bitch. Sorry. It's been a hard year.
Hey, Dad, did you get the Pokemon cards for Cousin Timmy?
Who cares? That kid's a Charizard. He can Pokemon go fuck himself. You know what? Fuck this shit. Nobody fucking watches this shit for the recipes anyways.
Yeah, we didn't find out if it was busted or not.
Who fucking cared? Why don't you go fucking hang out with your Felice Navy stepdad?
You've had no
Christmas dicks! Grinch cocks! Fucking asshole.
That's funny. It may be slightly inappropriate at times, but the best jokes are.
Maybe slightly inappropriate at times.
That's so good. Okay.
Ghost, 1 Kazarian take. That's it. Not 2. Not 4. Just 1.
1 Kazarian take. Get in there, Ghost. I wonder how many handles of eggnog Ghost is deep right now.
Yeah, I can't believe the amount of eggnog consumption.
It's so
I
funny.
wouldn't even like 1.
You know what? Okay, Rumor Sprite said that John is basically Canadian in North Dakota. You know what? It's not even close to true. Not even close.
Oh man.
Proximity does not make one Canadian.
I've said before, one of the most disturbing Herald facts is that he is from a longitude.
Latitude.
Yeah, that one. A latitude north of where my wife is from.
Yeah, but I'm still more American. Unless she took the test, then we're equal, allegedly.
Yeah, she's a citizen.
Okay. And then we're equal.
She
We're
was
equal
the right
footing.
side.
We're equal footing citizenship-wise, not... I mean, she's a female, so...
That's true. Yep.
Just kidding, guys. Okay.
I'm not.
I know you're not. What else are we going to talk about tonight? We could talk about... well, there's a few interesting things. I saw this article, and it reminded me of the Switch theory stuff, so I could let you talk on this for a little bit. But they're talking about Musk and his manufacturing revolution, and I think it's interesting the timing of this is coming right before Trump comes back in. And they're talking about first principles manufacturing. The company's first principles approach to manufacturing is a radical departure from the industry norm, focusing not just on cheap labor, existing models, but on rethinking the entire production process. This focus on manufacturing efficiency will lead to dramatic reduction in costs, potentially bringing them closer to zero, which that blows my mind. And they're talking about this in the context of Musk.
Do you want to listen to that little clip? I actually happened to have listened to this whole. I like this Farzad guy.
Which guy?
On the right,
beard?
it's his podcast.
Okay.
The guy on the left is a like a Tesla bull, but he's also like a manufacturing expert and manufacturing technology expert, Jeff Lutz.
Are those like Tesla glasses or something? Like, why would somebody wear those on their face?
But this Farzad guy is cool. He's they're Trumper. Well, I don't know if Lutz is, but Farzad's also a Trump guy.
Awesome. Yeah, let's listen.
Which is cool.
This is like, the insight you provided to is like just so incredibly valuable. It's no wonder that innovation has been lacking so much. It's because we've brute forced essentially manufacturing by leveraging globalization. Because we had that $2 an hour rate in China or in Mexico or wherever else, like we're not like, well, we have to just get really good at building stuff to be competitive. I was like, nah, just let them do it. Like we'll get our margins, just let them do it.
And that's why, you're right. It's the most under discussed thing in the analyst world about Tesla. We talk about the new vehicles coming. Now we're starting to talk about autonomy. Finally, we're starting to have real discussions about autonomy. But what's the thing that's the most under discussed thing is Tesla's next product is their new way of manufacturing. And it's a big deal. It is a big step in how products are made today. And I don't think anybody at a lot of these investment have the right research people actually looking into what the impact is and what it's going to enable. It's going to enable really the variable cost to build product. You have the bucket of parts and then you have the transformation of it. It's going to enable that transformation portion to shrink further and further and approach zero. It's that step function you need in cost reduction to get further scale. And I don't think enough people are. I think it's going to be the way the Cybercab is going to be made. It's going to be the way that Optimus is going to be made. I don't think enough people are talking about it. It's fine. Let them not talk about it, but it's a really big deal. Tesla versions their factories like they version their product. They spend time perfecting it, and they have design reviews of their factory design like they have design reviews of their product. They have specs. They have performance attributes they're trying to meet. It's a very different. This doesn't happen at other companies at the executive level.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
I can't get over his glasses though. That is ridiculous.
A little silly. The thing that's the basic thing that they're saying. One real world example of this that I was fascinated by. Now this is all according to the public story of Tesla. Obviously, some of us have our theories of DOD, etc. How much of Tesla is organic? How much of it is disclosure? Let's just take the public story of Tesla. So people have probably heard of the full self-driving technology. I was raving about it because I tried it a couple months ago and it blew my mind completely.
I want a Cybertruck so bad.
It blew my mind.
It wasn't so ugly, but
yeah. But what's really interesting about the full self-driving technology, whatever you think of it, apparently that software started as an efficiencies software in their manufacturing. So Tesla designed its manufacturing plants, its gigafactories, to be able to mass produce their products, obviously. And since Elon Musk is a first principles thinker, to your original point here, he was like, why are we still designing factories the way that we did in the 20s when the whole world is different? Why don't we just think about a different way of creating a factory? So apparently, as that one example, the full self-driving software started as he wanted to make it more efficient to safety test vehicles. So instead of having his engineers drive the Tesla vehicles around, he was like, let's design an AI software that can drive them around on just a closed circuit loop on Tesla grounds, so that the AI will tell us about the safety standards. Supposedly, it was never supposed to be a consumer-facing product. But what happened was the design was so good, and it was getting better and better and better, that one of the engineers supposedly said, why don't we just start R&D on this as full self-driving technology in the wild? And
that's
supposedly
awesome.
That's where that came from, right? But I have a quote too that it's from an article that one of my millions I haven't written yet. This blew my mind. I was listening to a former Tesla engineer in a podcast a few months ago, Andre Carpathy, and they asked him, what was the most shocking thing to you about working at Tesla? He was one of the guys, real pivotal engineer there. And he said, quote, the speed with which Optimus was started, this is the robot, I think to me was very impressive, because the moment Elon said we're doing this, people just showed up with all the right tools. The stuff just showed up. CAD models, supply chain stuff, everything showed up. So it's like, he's got these engineers in a room, in a think tank, and he's telling them, we're going to create an Optimus robot. Give me your best shot. And then when they give him their designs, he tweaks them, Elon tweaks them, and then the supply chain shows up. DoD contractors, military, all the parts they need. Now keep in mind, almost every part of the Optimus robot is designed from the ground up by Tesla engineers. These are not parts that are available. They're not using like car parts.
Yeah.
These are all custom parts, actuators. So, that made me think, that's interesting. And
That's
speaking of compartmentalization, like that engineer doesn't seem to think that he was working for some sort of military outfit, because he was being asked to generate designs. But when he generated a design, he says the supply chain just showed up for it.
It's so fascinating. I always think of him being the largest DoD contractor under Trump, and the role he took on since 2020, since Trump left office, the role he took on. I mean, back in 2020, before the election and stuff, like he was just a super wealthy dude creating this technology for liberals, the green energy people, really.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, in the past 4 years, he becomes arguably the most famous person in the world behind Donald Trump, if not even on par or ahead of him. And the stuff that he is doing is just it's not just it's taking society forward. Like there was I saw something a while ago. There was talk about doing a trans-oceanic underground railway that could get from New York to Paris, I think, in like 54 minutes.
Yeah.
But every time they look at this thing, they've looked at it like a bunch over the past few years. It's like 300 million or 30 trillion or 300 trillion. I don't even remember the number. It's like some absurd $1 trillion number, and it would take decades to complete. And so they're like, well, it's not worth it. But it's cool to think about going from New York to Paris in 50 minutes, whatever. And Elon on Twitter responded to a post about this. He's like, the Boring Company could do this for the Boring Company could do it for $20 billion, essentially what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not only why are we not doing that, but how have we not done that from every city in America to every other city in America? Like, why is there not railways from Bismarck, North Dakota to wherever the fuck you are in like, how does that stuff not exist? Because you could get there in like 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And
so
technology by Tesla and the Boring Company, everything they're doing, they're taking society forward. That's my point. And not just like here, they want to go to Mars and all these other things. And yeah, I don't know, man. Like the military technology stuff, when we talk about military technology always being decades ahead of what is actually released publicly, well, what if some of that started to change under Trump and that window is closing now and we're getting some of that technology and it's coming through Elon Musk, the largest DoD contractor? I don't know. It's a lot of interesting stuff, and maybe we'll get disclosure on that someday. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I wrote I've got this Weapons of the Future series on my Substack, and one of them is called Amerigeddon. And, it's a lot of it's about nuclear technology, but it goes out there. And my feeling is genuinely, besides DoD contractor, the word you use there is disclosure. I genuinely believe, no pun intended, that Elon Musk is being used as a disclosure vehicle for technology that has been suppressed. Now, when it comes to the Boring Company, I think one of two things are possible. Either the Boring Company technology is going to allow us to do in short order what Elon is claiming it will allow us to do, or some would suggest that such infrastructure already exists and that the Boring Company is how it is soft disclosed to the American people, right? Like, do these railways exist? Do these passages exist? Now, I'm not even claiming that they're in use right now, but is our world what we were told it was? Are there civilizations that had access to this kind of stuff? There are some really interesting rabbit holes about that stuff. And man, are we boring new tunnels? Or are we being told that our world is not exactly what we were told it was?
Yeah, because who knows how many of these tunnels already exist under there?
Exactly.
And maybe there already is a tunnel from Bismarck to Massachusetts.
There could be.
Could be.
I'm gonna blow it up as soon as I can.
Well, I mean,
but man, it's
do our shows live in studio.
But this is where that engineer quote, like we've talked about these theories, right? Like, is Elon being used as disclosure? Is it secret? Tesla energy, Tesla meaning Nikola Tesla technology, John Trump, Nikola Tesla connections. It's not a coincidence, right? But that Carpathy, that engineer quote really jumped out to me a few months ago because I went, wait a second. This guy is considered, he was once called like the protege of Elon Musk at Tesla. And he doesn't seem to know that this is disclosure, but it made me even more so think it is because he was completely shocked at how Elon was able to do the things he did, even though the guy was his right-hand man. Like, that was his key engineer. And he's feeding Elon designs, and Elon's like, yep, we'll get a supply chain spun up. Where the guy's like, yeah, Elon, I came up with this great design for actuators in a robot hand, but none of these actuators exist. We're going to have to design and create every single one of these, and we don't have any of the supply chain. Like, it's going to take decades. And Elon's like, no, like, I'll make a few calls.
Yeah. That's insane. So, that's a great point, too. One more story I think we should end on. I know we have a lot that we were like throwing back and forth. Oh, shoot. Two stories. Let's do the one about... We'll end with the one about Trump being president already, I think. I want to do the Mossad one real quick.
Yeah.
Just real quick, because we talked about this a little bit on Basis Conspiracies, but This is so funny, guys. 60 Minutes comes out. They interviewed a retired Mossad agent, as if such a thing exists. And
named Mike, I think. Well, they named him Mike.
Israel's Mossad learned Hezbollah was buying pagers from a company in Taiwan, and in 2022 started its pager plot. Sunday, a retired Mossad agent, key to the operation, explains how they are made. It's just insane to me that anybody would believe that once you're Mossad, you can just like retire and like go on your 401k and then just, you know, go disclose the shit you were doing to fucking 60 Minutes. Like,
this is Gabriel.
It's Gabriel, not Mike.
Gabriel.
Yeah.
This is Gabriel, not his real name or voice. In 2022, he and his team started developing the second phase of the operation, booby-trapped pagers. He found out that Hezbollah was buying pagers from this company in Taiwan called Gold Apollo. This is the pager that Hezbollah was using. So it's very sleek, it's very shiny, and it certainly can fit in a pocket. So what did you do to change this to make it into a bomb?
That should put her on a terror watch list right there for asking that question. I want to find the one about I'm just gonna play this.
How
I think this might be the one.
did you convince Hezbollah to buy this?
Well, obviously, they didn't know that they were buying it from Israel.
Who did they buy it from, or think they were buying it from?
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel, shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
That's like straight out of the Ghost in the Machine video, but I'll let you elaborate on this. Yeah.
I think there's layers to this, right? The surface layer is crazy enough, which is that Mossad is telling everybody that they're masters of deception, which makes sense in spycraft, but to the point where they're saying we created a pretend world, all the world's our stage, we're the producers. There's a different point in the interview where he literally references he said, we make like the Truman Show. Everything is controlled by us behind the scenes. Like, you're allowed to watch this and think that this is actually a Mossad agent saying these things. You're also allowed to watch this and say this is analogous to the very, very silly Ukrainian super secret counteroffensive boys who were telling everybody to be very quiet about their counteroffensive. It has Ghost in the Machine written all over it to me. Like it came off like tryhards explaining how deception-y they were.
See, there's one thing I can say with like almost 100% certainty, and that was not an actual former Mossad agent. Like there's no way that person was Mossad or ever was Mossad or anything.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to go on 60 Minutes and tell the story of like from Mossad's angle, and then from there it's just trying to discern who it could have been. Was it the good guys, the white hats, the Ghost in the Machine people? I mean, he literally says a quote from the Ghost in the Machine video, which is pretty interesting. The world's a stage. But also like it could be a black hat op. Who knows? Like they're working with 60 Minutes. Who knows? But that is definitely not a former Mossad agent. I can guarantee you that. And it's just interesting that they're doing this shit and people actually believe it. That's what's nuts. People believe it. But
now,
you
another
guys
wrinkle to it.
Smarter.
Another wrinkle to it of if I want to steel man that this guy is a real Mossad agent, then he feels like he's an intern from 60 Minutes, and those two things are not necessarily mutually exclusive. I don't know if we've talked about it on a show, but very recently, one of the funniest deployments to come out of the Syria theater was New York Times or one of the main, maybe it was CNN reporter was sitting down with like 8 guys from the freedom fighters who took over Syria and that took over Damascus, and he's telling one of them to hide their ISIS patch, which is like a direct rerun of the New York Times reporters telling Azov battalion to hide their Nazi patches. So it just feels to me like, and what felt like disclosure there was not these guys being ISIS loyalists. It was the ISIS guy's reaction to the reporter was very friendly, and he was like, "Oh, thanks, bro."
Yeah.
Like, and this is what these literal terrorists see Western media as allies.
Yeah.
And that might also be what's going on here. Like, maybe 60 Minutes is just doing their brothers a solid, you know?
It could be. I will still say I don't understand the Israel and the Middle East situation like some of you want me to. I get messages all like some people on Twitter, that's all they like, just read about this is the only thing that matters. I get people feel that way. I'm not that guy. And so, but I am curious to see what the saving Israel for last thing means. If some of these people are right, like could be interesting, but when that happens, we will have Ghost on the show, and we will allow him to talk as long as his little ghost heart desires. But let's get to the last story tonight, and then we'll get out of here because it's Christmas. We got this one is pretty much again admitting everything we already knew. Last week we had a story from Wall Street Journal about how Biden was never really in control of anything the entire time. He was in a diminished role. They talk about he never met with his cabinet secretaries. These people would just get the decisions. They were never part of the decisions. So who was actually giving those decisions? It wasn't Biden. They admitted to that. And now we have this, which is, again, I think a little more disclosure. Whether Alexander Bolton here realizes it or not, Trump already acting as he's president as Biden takes a lower key approach. President-elect Trump is seizing the reins of power early and, according to lawmakers in both parties, already acting as president, while President Biden, in many ways, has kept a lower profile during the final days of his presidency. Beyond dictating events on Capitol Hill, Trump is making headlines internationally by threatening to take back control of the Panama Canal and declaring that the U.S. ownership of, and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. And then Murkowski, it's clear he's in charge now, said of Trump's impact on the spending debate when Washington was only a few hours away from a potential shutdown. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, it just goes, it's more of this. I don't know if there's any specific quotes you want to go on, but again, to me, this is like a little more disclosure than they even realize. Like, and this has been going on a lot longer than people realize too. Trump has been meeting with foreign leaders pretty much the entirety of the last 4 years. Trump has been dictating and controlling aspects and negotiations and all these things a lot more than people realize, and they're just finally admitting to it now.
Yeah, and I like how you framed that. You know, again, speaking of compartmentalization, sometimes it's not even intentional. These people might be sort of disclosing accidentally. You know, their questions are often answers. They seem that sort of goes back to one of our early topics tonight. The chaos in the Canadian government, I don't think is indicative of them all knowing what's going on. I think it's indicative of them all not knowing what's going on, and they don't know what to do right now. With Trudeau, with Trump, etc. The key thing I like here is Vin Weber, Republican strategist. He's got a couple of nice quotes here. The main point is that Biden has vacated the field and Trump filled the vacuum. He's talking about the continuing resolution. And he says, the fact that the sitting president of the U.S. didn't have much of an impact on it is really telling, especially since the president has one of the chambers of Congress under his control or his party's control. It was quite something to watch. Yeah. So, like, that seems like, you know, to your point, could that be direct disclosure? Sure. It's almost more likely that it's just a guy saying, like, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm just saying it out loud that this doesn't make any sense, unless, of course, it's our boy Blue and Devolution. And it makes sense why he would not interfere with Trump's negotiations.
Yeah, and even more so, you know, let's the our boy Blue approach, him not having any part of it, like that's just instead of Trump having to use our boy Blue to do something, he's just doing it himself. And that spending bill, we don't need to go balls deep on that, but like we talked about this last week and a little bit on Saturday. The bill ended up exactly the way Trump wanted it to. We were talking about, you know, when they released that 1,547 page report and people dug through it, like I dug through it and all these, I wasn't the only one, but we found the poison pills they wanted us to find. And whether or not people found those, I don't think it mattered because they were going to find a way or a reason to tank that bill regardless. It's just a certain point, poison pills got let out there and that's the ones they ran with. and they used it to get the bill they wanted. Things played out exactly how Trump wanted. Even the debt ceiling thing, he wanted it. They fought against it. And for whatever reason, I do believe that's how he wanted it to go down. And we just saw the public negotiation of it. So I'm curious to see how he addresses this, because we're going to see this rerun again in March. And I wouldn't be surprised. Like, what if Trump comes out in this next debate about the spending bill, and he's like, when other people are presenting, hey, we should remove the ceiling on the debt limit, he's like, no, we should keep it in there. I want to keep it in there.
Right.
Like
right.
He might completely switch soon. Maybe not. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see the differences between the two negotiations, the one we just had and the one we have upcoming. But
And besides the actuals at the end of the negotiations, like besides what actually goes through as the final deal or deployment, going back to Chris using the sifting term earlier tonight, every time Trump strings these narratives along and like pokes and prods the narratives before we get to what we think is his desired outcome, there's exposure all along the way. Like the process is the punishment, as they would say in legalese. And Trump was saying, hey, it sounds like these days he's basically saying, if you are seen publicly opposing me on the way to my desired outcome, the American people are seeing you do this, you fucks.
Yeah.
Like these rhinos. And he's telling them, he was saying last week, you're going to get primaried. Like,
yeah.
Let's see how this goes for you. So I think that, these things don't have to take as long as they do, but I think it's a feature where he's saying like, no, let the swamp rats expose themselves and come out against my agenda.
And here's the thing too about that. Like, let's take Chip Roy as an example. Okay. I haven't studied Chip Roy or the stuff he's voted on, or like, I don't even know if he's been pro or anti-Trump election 2020 stuff. Like, I don't even remember. But I'm just going to look at this latest spending bill situation. And honestly, like, if I was in Congress, I would have voted no on the thing every single time. Like, every one of these bills is criminal. Mm-hmm. And we shouldn't be passing any one of these through. I would have voted no. And the people voting no on this stuff, like, I'm not going to use that as a reason to like come out and publicly hate Chip Roy. There's apparently plenty of other reasons to do so. That's fine, but it shouldn't be about the spending bill. What if Trump comes through and puts a spending package together this next time around that is completely different than the one that he just like lashed out on True Social at Chip Roy for voting no on? Like, what if he doesn't want a bill like they just passed next time around? We don't know how that's going to play out, but like,
it could be. That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. In terms of spending money, like we have a long ways to go to fix this thing, and even the bill we just put through was full of garbage and bullshit. And so I'm very much looking forward to that next bill. But I'm not like,
well, to your point too. I mean, hey, I just want to play that string out. If you did want to really, really test the America First nature of some of these politicians, like you could take your thread and just play it out and say, is Trump going so far as to play kayfabe with some of these people that they don't even know they're engaged in, and he wants them to oppose him? I mean, it's worth keeping in mind. Yeah, I mean, we can't be black and white about it. But I do think that there are people that get exposed along the way during these things. But yeah, it's definitely complicated because we don't want any of these bills going through in the form they are.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people in Congress that shouldn't be there. A lot of people that are rhinos, not America First. There's so much we got to fix. Trump there's a lot of work to be done, and I think he's going to tackle as much of it as he can, if not all of it. But our elections need to be part of that. Otherwise, we're going to continue to end up with these people. But we've said that before. One more story I just wanted to briefly touch on before we get to the rants and stuff. And we won't go too far into this, but we've talked about Matt Gaetz before. He was going to be the pick for AG, and he ends up, there's this whole ethics probe going into him. It gets leaked, and they tank his nomination, and he comes out. He says he's not even going to run for the next Congress, which he was elected to. And then he's like, I'm going to be taking on a different role. The role he takes on is at OAN, which to me is just, the whole thing's weird. But finally, this report finally comes out, okay? And I read through this thing, and like, I'm not saying what Matt Gaetz was doing was good, because like he was partying. It was this premarital party lifestyle. That's how I would describe it. If you want to go read through it, you can. I don't think anything he was doing was necessarily criminal, and nothing he was doing was like, it was all overblown by the media. But I was just looking at the basis of the report and why they put this out there, and they they never. It's part of the rules that they don't release reports like these on former Congress people. Like that's part of their rules. They've only done it 3 times in history, and think of how many people we've had in Congress. We've had, I mean, hundreds of congressmen and women every couple of years. How many sessions we've had for going back to the 1790s or whenever they started it, like tens of thousands of these people. They have 3 cases where they've done it before. Yeah. 2 of the cases were people who, one of them was found guilty of a crime and indicted, went to jail. The report came out after. One of them pled guilty to a crime, went to jail. The report came out after. So those are clearly different instances. They didn't leave on their own. They went to jail. The third guy, the media smeared him. He went to the ethics committee. He was like, hey, I need you guys to do an investigation into this because I want you guys to clear my name. And at the end of it, he got elected mayor. He left Congress because he became mayor instead. All parties wanted this report released to basically clear the guy's name. And so this is like a completely different situation. The whole thing's bullshit. And so what's the motive here? It's a Republican Congress, and they are using this to smear Matt Gaetz for whatever reason. Like there's something more here. I don't think we know the full story. It's not just because Matt Gaetz did something wrong. Like this was a hit job, a political hit job to get Matt Gaetz removed. That's my opinion on it. We've talked about Matt Gaetz being like Trump's mouthpiece in Congress because he's pushing the Trump narrative with a megaphone most of the times. And maybe that's why they wanted him gone. But he's not in there anymore, and it's allegedly because of this report. And I don't think this report is that bad.
Yeah, I think I mean, again, we don't know where it's all going, but I think that what I'd be most confident in saying is that we haven't seen the thread fully unravel of where this saga is going. And I would say that you can have it both ways a little bit, right? Like you mentioned, like a partying lifestyle. Let's just even go further than that hypothetically and say that you find Gaetz's behavior kind of abhorrent, or at least during this period, and you're really not okay with it out of a representative of yours. I think you're allowed to feel that way, while also glimpsing that that might be the point of this whole thing. So you just mentioned it from the perspective of Gaetz and MAGA's enemies. It would make sense why they would want to smear somebody like this and get him out of the way, right? But from Trump's perspective, from MAGA's perspective, we're all aware that blackmail is a hell of a tactic, and that to blackmail somebody, you need to have something compromising on them. Like you can't be blackmailed if they don't have anything on you, right? That implies some level of guilt to something, and it doesn't have to be criminal guilt. It can be moral guilt. It can be optical guilt, like that kind of thing, compromising positions. I kind of think what we're seeing here, I think Gaetz said similar things several weeks ago when this stuff was first breaking, that are we seeing the disclosure of a template of how these subversive deep state power structures have gone after young, influential threats to their system in the past? Is Gaetz being used by Trump as a way to disclose, like, this is what they do? They get their hooks in young potential MAGA Republicans or America First people. They compromise them, they blackmail them. And if it ends up all having a good outcome for Gaetz, then I think we'll be able to reverse engineer that and say that the lesson to take out of this thing would be, hey, as long as you know that you've got the right intentions, you fight this shit to the bitter end, and you keep representing your beliefs going forward. You don't cave to it.
I see where you're going with that. I don't think this is that, just because I didn't see anything, like there wasn't disclosure in here of any, like, what I would call an op to, like a blackmail op. I didn't see that in here. That's part of the other part of the story that wasn't in this report, because there's the stuff with his dad and the guy in Iran and all that stuff.
Right.
That wasn't in here. This was just going through his party lifestyle. He used to party with girls and do drugs, and like, I don't even remember, like some cocaine. They think they don't even have proof of it. Some text messages talking about Molly, but they call them party favors. That's it. So party favors and it's, I mean, honestly, people at that, again, I'm not saying I would live that lifestyle or approve of it. I'm just saying that's the lifestyle of a lot of people in Congress. It's not uncommon. And there are, I guarantee you, people in Congress that do worse things. But what I'm saying is what was in that report was not surprising or that bad. And in my opinion, not a reason for him to leave Congress altogether. So there's something else to this story. I don't know what it is. We shall see. But on that note, I say do you want to do the boosts? We'll go through the rants and get out of here.
We got a few boosts the last few days for the whole company. I wanted to read. I don't know if anybody has. Cherub58 sent over $100. Said, I've learned more from the Badlands group in 2 years than I have in my 66 on this planet. I'm grateful to all of you and hope to see you at your next Florida GART.
And that is a testament to how bad our public education system is.
Thank you, Cherub.
Thank
Vicky Dirk sent $30. Thank you all on Badlands. John, Patrick, BB, Ash, Joe, Paul, Ghost, Joe Lang, Chris, CanCon, OMG, Sports Show. Too many to thank. Merry Christmas to everyone there. Before we go one, we go all. Much appreciated. We've got what else? ZA Huntress or TL Swearis sent $1,100 over. And that is not an accident. That was intentional. Said, hoping this gets each of you around $50. I love the programming, variety, and sincerity of the team. It's been quite the ride with lots of rabbit holes, myth busting, and spiritual awakening. May God continue to bless you and all Badlanders.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
That's
very
incredible.
much. That is, that's incredibly generous. And I mean, you guys fund us. That's how this works, and we're very grateful for it. We know that especially this past year has been lean, especially as people are concentrating on their families around Christmas.
Yeah.
So it's much appreciated. And,
I'm very much looking forward to the golden era here. Because it's when it's lean for you guys, it's lean for us too. And
right. You guys keep the lights on.
Yeah. So thank you. The generosity, it really means a lot, you guys.
All right, and for Power Hour rants, I think we got these last week. Yes.
Or boosts, you mean?
Boosts. Did we get these ones? 1027JS sent $100 over and said, Merry Christmas, John and BB. I think we might have got that last week, but thank you. Silverback, $50. I think this came through after last week's show. Awesome topics as always, fellas. Also a fantastic show, BB with G Money on Sunday. John, I've always been curious how you've gotten so proficient at researching online and would love to get a tip or two on methods. Great job again, made my night.
Yeah, I've sometime in the new year, I don't know when I'm going to start this, but probably like sometime in January. I do want to start like a daily show, like only an hour, and kind of newsy, talk about stuff, but could talk about like some live dig stuff too. And so maybe that's something I'll get into.
Yeah, if you just as like a chill dig stream, just you digging, you can learn by example of that, and just go back and forth with people and chat while you're digging.
In my experience, research, it's not even as much like there's no like cool way to do thing, or like there's no tips or tricks. It's it's like being stubborn about getting to the answer. Like as long as you're willing to sit there and read through shit until you find what you're looking for, anybody can research. Like anybody can go through legal filings and read them. It's just making the connections and which that will come naturally too. At first, like you read something, you might not find a connection, but then it leads you to the next thing. And then like, oh, I remember that from the prior thing. And then it just eventually the connections build themselves the more you read.
Great. All right, a couple more Wednesday rants. Plymouth Patriot, $20. Merry Christmas, John and BB. Thanks for doing a show on Christmas night. Hope you both had a wonderful day. Thanks for all you do. Looking forward to GART Plymouth. Yeah, you better be there with that name. Plymouth Patriot. Plymouth Patriot better be at GART Plymouth. Thank you very much. Slade 520, $5. Chris Paul pointed out on his show that there's a Governor General of Canada, Mary Simon. She answers directly to the King of England. Maybe Trump is trying to bring attention to this. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Like we said earlier, like, who does Canada answer to? Do Canadians know? Because they don't seem to. I've talked to many of them. Slade, $6.31. Badlands should buy one of these. Jetson.com. and send BB around the country to do interviews. What? Are you aware of these? These are like doohickeys. It's like a flying little
mini
hover
helicopter.
thing. Can I have one of those?
Like, how would this get him anywhere faster than like just a plane?
With some stick-to-itiveness. Well, it'd get me there faster than an Azerbaijani plane.
Maybe.
Too soon.
Too soon. Yeah, didn't that just crash like today?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like way too soon.
Looks pretty fun. I want
Yeah,
it.
it does look awesome. It just kind of looks like
It looks extremely dangerous in terms of like slicing up passersby.
And you know what? It's just a big drone. It's basically like one of these orbs. Guys, badlandsmedia.tv/orb. You need to get one of these for every Christmas party you ever go to. These things are freaking amazing. I've had so much fun. My kids love them. Adults love them. Drinking games too. I'm not even sure if
strap
we
them all to yourself, and then you can actually fly around like
yeah,
Iron Man.
if you get enough of these. I'm not even 100% sure like what we get some commission from that, but I'm not even sure what it is. I'm just that passionate about this product. Like, I don't even care if it's zero. Like, you all need to have one of these.
Our
They're so
commission
fun.
is the joy in your hearts.
Yeah, these are
As
amazing.
you guys sling those around. All right, we are caught up on boost. Thank you guys very much.
Okay, now I don't know how to turn it off. Whoops. So cool.
Now we should care.
Okay, rants.
The rants.
Let's do it. And thank you guys. You guys have been incredibly generous tonight. And thank you for everybody who gifted the subscriptions. If we missed you, apologies, but we do truly appreciate that. Micro Tool Maker, $117. Merry Christmas, Badlands family. I'm praying for blessings multiplied for this family. You're all the very best of humanity. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you so much for that.
Super generous lately. We appreciate it.
Yep. Doing great. Boom Diggity is now a monthly supporter. Thank you, Boom Diggity. And I know Boom Diggity I think they gifted the 50 earlier. So thank you for that.
JBA or whatever?
JBA did some too, but I think Boom Diggity did like 50.
All right.
Jay Gonzalez 1123, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Merry Christmas to you as well. Timothy Ross, Trump won, only Christmas present I needed. Same here. That's pretty awesome. Electro Fried, Patrick and Burning Bright, the Zeitgeist Guru are my favorite personalities. Great picks, Mr. John. Merry Christmas, guys. I like how I get credit for picking you guys, but I don't get credit for being a favorite personality.
Thank you for bringing people that we like so much more than you.
Yeah. Bittersweet about that rant, but thank you for the $25. $50 from 1027JS. Merry Christmas, John and BB. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you as always. Also very generous. Kansas Doll 22. Merry Christmas to both of you. Merry Christmas to you as well, Kansas Doll. Thank you. Sleep State. Why does Trump want to take over Danish colony of Greenland? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just wants Greenland to no longer be a Danish colony.
Wants Greenland to rise up.
And then just do business with us. Mm-hmm. Seaside Lady, Merry Christmas, John and BB. Does Badlands get anything from the gift memberships? We do. We definitely do. And I know you gifted some earlier. Thank you. But yeah, we get like 80%, I think. And if people like agree to keep them going, obviously that's great too, because that is monthly revenue that comes in every month we can rely on, gets split evenly amongst everybody. It's pretty small amount like normally that we get split up, but just in the last couple of days that we've had these gifted subscriptions, it's gone up. So it's been very, very appreciated.
Let me on this note, we just always forget to. I just want to plug the Substack. There's been a lot of great stuff coming out on it lately.
Oh yeah.
We'll be working on it tonight, the wee hours of the morning. So badlands.substack.com. This is all free, but like John's saying, with the Rumble channel and with subscriptions, you can choose to support if you want to. You can, like any of these things, you can cancel at any time. That stuff comes into the company. We pay our writers. So we alternate. We do Badlands News Brief every 5 days a week. Me, Ghost, and Ash are on that. And then we've got all kinds of great series lately. I mean, or features, I should say. White Pill Emporium. We've got Joe Lang with a lot of great stuff. He's got a new series going on, America for Sale. The next one comes out soon on that. So we've got a new writer here, Observing Consciousness. That one was popular.
Good
so
Twitter
just check the
account
stuff
too.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good like white pill, or it's good red pill material too to send to people you know.
Yeah. And when it comes to subscription, guys, like not to plug this stuff, but we love putting this stuff out. We're in this for the love of it. We're trying to, keep it so that we can do this as full-time careers. Not everybody can. But the subscription stuff, like being able to rely on money coming in and not like, okay, well, I hope we have a good amount of Rumble rants this month or whatever, or we hope we get cash ads from Rumble this month, because that's not always the case. It's very much appreciated. So we do appreciate when and wherever you guys subscribe, because that's like we can budget that stuff. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's keep going. Kathy K 2020, Merry Christmas, John and BB. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you as well. $50. Envo, $50. It's been a while for live, but haven't missed listening to an episode. Merry Christmas. Thank you too. Thank you. We love it when you guys listen. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and share it around. That's also a wonderful way to support us. Tin Man 1295 is a monthly supporter. Thank you. Funky Pam, $25. Christmas blessings.
I think Seaside just gifted another 5 memberships right there.
Oh, amazing. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
You guys are awesome. Abby Gale, Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks for all you do. That's a $17 one. L Caterbug is a monthly supporter. Thank you, L Caterbug. 848-18825. I wonder if that's a phone number. Doesn't know. Maybe. I don't, probably not. Merry Christmas, boys. You're the best. That's $50. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ekim Navilis, $10. Fox is making a power play because of the podcasters and indie journalists in the press room during Trump 3.0. That's a great point. Trump is going to start calling Fox out when 2016 election fraud comes up. That's a great point.
That is a great point.
I haven't thought of that.
Yeah, like now I think everything that we've said about that stands in terms of the relationships between these entities, but that is a great point about why it would go public now. Is Fox trying to get more people into that newsroom, and they know that podcasters and alt media are going to be flooding that newsroom.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Interesting point.
Thank you, Ethan. Oh, by the way, next Tuesday night, I think we're going to do a New Year's Eve show, because I'll be here, I believe, because I have my kids Wednesday again. So I think we're going to do a New Year's Eve show. So we'll put details out, but just stay tuned. We'll do something fun. And I know Eye of the Storm will be on. I don't expect them to do anything different. It'll probably just be like I don't know. We'll talk it out, but just you can expect that. We've done that pretty much every year, I think. So Electro Fried became a monthly supporter. Thank you. Sleep State. I think Denmark should give back Greenland its independence.
They say they already are, but hey, I bet a lot of Greenlanders are wondering that right now.
Yeah. Fox 01, 12. He is ready to separate the chaff from the wheat with his winnowing fork. Then he will clean up the threshing area, gather the wheat into his barn, but burn the chaff with never-ending fire. Don't know what.
Where's this a quote from?
I don't know.
It's a biblical quote, Matthew 3:12.
It's not a biblical. Okay, so you just put 12. You're just missing part of it.
Yeah.
Data 12 says, Merry Christmas garbage, deplorables, suspendables, banned, fired, jabbed by liars, jailed, lawfared, selectively prosecuted, bankrupted, broke. You are not alone. Thank you.
Damn straight.
Sleep State. We should take over Great Britain. Talk about turning the tables.
As somebody who is hopelessly Irish, I'm okay with just having as little association with the English as ever necessary. I wish them the best over there.
I just want everybody to have their own sovereignty. I just want the deep state out of all this bullshit.
Away from me.
Yeah. They can drink their tea and
English. I like
eat their biscuits elsewhere. Right? They drink biscuits and tea? Is that what they do?
They drink biscuits and eat tea. Yep. That's what they do.
Is that what I said?
Well, I don't like them. Can't trust somebody who does that.
That's weird. Space Wanderer 77 says, I love it when BB and John talk about money. I am not sure if that is sarcasm or not, so I'm not trying to respond. But thank you for the $1.
Yeah.
Wantanabe says, or for $20, I have the honor of being banned on his Telegram talkbacks. I don't know who.
Who would you have been banned?
It could be mine.
Talkbacks?
I don't know what talkbacks mean. But thank you for the $20.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Call sign Cujo. Clairecat367 wrote this 2-minute long. So good. Got a link. I will check that out, but I do already have an outro call sign, but thank you. And then we got the final demand. Scavino pointed to Schiff as the coyote, and Obama setting up the White House for Hillary. Trump then posted about Obama this morning. Will Obama be raided and arrested or turn himself in? Merry Christmas. For $100, thank you. No idea. No idea.
2025 is going to be freaking crazy. And I think I don't think less crazy than 2024, but I think crazy in a much more fun way.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting. There's just going to be so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah. I do have a proposal as we leave for the Canadians.
Okay.
I am willing to consider, as your hypothetical 51st king, 3/5 citizenship.
God save the Queen, man.
It's worked in the past, but you can't keep the Queen on your money. You will officially be 3/5 of an American, and you will be treated as such, and you will say thank you and sorry at every opportunity. Your kids will be 4/5 American, and your kids' kids will be 7/8 American. Never any more than that.
I'm open to talking about this.
Okay,
but
that's where I'm at right now. But we can talk about it.
Maybe we can get up to like 4/5, or maybe even like 6/11. Is that more than 3/5? Yeah, that is right. No, it's less. It'd be 6/2. God damn, I was never good at fractions and math. Actually, I was, but whatever. I haven't done them in a while. Okay, we're just gonna end the show. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up, and we'll see you on the regular Badlands programming. So check this out as we go. This is a great video.
Flexing on these niggas, every bone and muscle. Steady taking shots, never hurting them. Even then, y'all don't worry nothing. And I like to give a shout out to my niggas with the game plan. And shout outs to my niggas with escape plans. 20 bands, rain dance. We can either rain check or we can make plans. Pockets loaded, rocket loaded, okay, let's rock and roll this. Time to go, lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels locked and loaded. Diamonds glowing, chop, climbing on them. You think I'm jumping out the window, how I got them open. Line around the corner, line them up the block and over. Sometimes I even stop the smoking when it's time to focus. My shade, Dior. My pants, the law, create, explore, expand, concord. I came, I saw, I came, I saw, I praise the Lord, then break the law. I take what's mine, then take some more. It rains, it pours, it rains, it pours. I came, I saw, I came, I saw, I praise the Lord, then break the law. I take what's mine, then take some more. It rains, it pours, it rains, it pours. Yeah. I sold the pack, the loose, the hard. Yeah. I listen to X, I beat the bars. Yeah. The snakes, the rats, the cats, the dogs, the games, a trap. Protect your heart. Yeah. I waited in line, return, refine the new design. You lost, I came, I saw, I came, I saw. I praise the Lord, then break the law. I take what's mine, then take some more. It rains, it pours, it rains, it pours. I came, I saw, I came, I saw. I praise the Lord, then break the law. I take what's mine, then take some more. It rains, it pours, it rains, it pours.